A film, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, directed by Pedro Almodovar and released in November of 1988. Um, when I saw this, I should say, starring Carmen Mora and a significant little lesser, a cameo performance from a then unknown in the USA, Antonio Banderas. So I believe I had already seen at least the film Matador from Pedro Almodovar. And so I went in not knowing what to expect because it's a very unusual story, but with at least a small inkling of his directorial style. Um, there's a lot of things I want to talk about in terms of this film. And one of the most important things for me as an artist is Almodovar came in with a whole different palette of color and application of color for different effects than I'm used to seeing in American or British films. Uh, it was a delight for my eyes, you know. And thematically, there's a lot going on here. I say this all, it's a breezy farce, okay? So to me, there's a lot underlying it, but that's for you to find if that's what you find, if that made sense to you. So the basics here are Carmen Mora um, is in love with a guy named Ivan. We would say Ivan, they say Ivan. This is a Spanish film. In case I didn't mention that, but it is. And what they do, what we see is their job is taking English language films and dubbing them into Spanish. An interesting thing, but people do that pretty much every day of the week all over the world. And as the film goes on, we see that there are also two or three other women that are in love with Ivan and are seeing him. And wackiness ensues. We see bits of their lives. The primary focus is Carmen Mora's character, but we get bits of the others as their stories run into each other. Because none of them are aware of the others. And outside of that, there are other characters that come in. I love there's like a disco cab driver who's got a very interesting cab, shall I say. That's the first time I heard someone named Susan called Ajuthena. I thought that was wonderful. And so as the film goes on, we also see a significant thing that's being done is Carmen Mora is making herself some gazpacho that she ends up spiking perhaps too much. And at one point, I believe it's Rossi de Palma, who's unforgettable, and I think she's the girlfriend of, or fiance, or whatever, wife, whatever it is, of Antonio Banderas. And they have just a delightful, fun series of scenes because one of the kind of nexuses, is that the proper conjugation, of the film is Carmen Mora's apartment, which she's thinking of selling or moving out of. And mundane things like watering plants, or that take on a great importance. By the way, I have to say, it's the first major motion picture, and it was a major motion picture, that I saw that involved a woman sitting down on a toilet to take a pee. I know you're saying so. I never saw that in a film before that. Sort of like back in the day when you heard the toilet flush upstairs on All in the Family. There's a first for everything. But as the stories interweave and new elements are brought in and new elements are brought out about Iban, and we see the effect that everything is having on all the women, although the main focus being Carmen Mora. Uh, it just builds and builds and builds and grows and grows and grows, and you really enjoy these characters. And the film, it's just shy of an hour and a half. For me, I wanted more of those characters. I was like, boy, Almodovar, who I think either also wrote or co-wrote the film. I don't remember for sure, but I'm sure he did. Um, brought you characters that you enjoy, that you care about. You may not even like them, but you still are invested in them. And that to me is the whole. It's not one thing. It is the writing, but it is having the right cast that imbues that the characters in that script, and it is having the right director for those characters, that story, and those actors. So it's powerful in its way, and it's a very satisfying film. So please watch it. I'm very pleased to see that. I remember shortly after its success, because it really, well, it was released at the end of '88. It really kind of tore a hole through America in '89. And I remember that I think it was Jane Fonda who had bought an option wanting to do an American version of it, which thankfully wiser heads prevailed and they did not do that, because it is a film of its place, and the culture surrounding what is going on is is a character. As sure as you know, the actors are characters in this, Spain is a character in this film. So I'm sorry if this all seems sort of disjointed. The film is not. The film is a piece of joy, and it's important in its way too, because it opened the door wider for international filmmakers to get a chance to have a film come over here on a wider level of release. I mean, I could say, I don't think I'm off base of saying, going later on, I could see this opening the door for, say, Slumdog Millionaire. Easily. That owes it to that, for the distributors and such to go, oh, this did very well. Let's see what else is on the plate. So, from 1988, it is Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown by Pedro Almodovar. Please give it a look, and I will see you the next time. Bye bye.